I went outside and looked, and there's a bullet hole in freaking on the side of our van.
I thought it was the wind first, but
I see him. Whoa.
We pack the right gear and make solid plans to stay safe outdoors, yet the wilderness doesn't follow our rules. From sudden gunfire ripping through a camper van to losing all visibility in a storm while something lurks outside. When your safety net vanishes during a terrifying camping encounter, do you trust your instincts or give in to panic? In central Greece, within the region of Paranesti, there is a remote and undisturbed woodland commonly known as the Fracto Virgin Forest. In early June 2025, on a Monday afternoon, two climbers began a challenging journey. Their objective was to move through the dense forest in search of the remains of a military aircraft that had crashed there 77 years earlier. At one moment, Christos Stavrianidis, age 61, was walking a short distance ahead of his companion near the edge of a cliff. He stepped forward to observe the valley below and record some footage using his body camera. His friend followed behind on a nearby parallel path. Everything seemed normal until Christos noticed unusual movement in the bushes that caught his attention. The second climber tried to get closer but did not see anything. Then suddenly, just a few meters away, a large dark shape appeared from the vegetation. A massive brown bear. Drawn by the unexpected encounter, Christos attempted to engage with the animal, unaware that this dangerous moment would ultimately lead to a tragic ending.
Ρίξε Δημήτρη! Ρίξε σπρέι!
The footage shows a bear identified as a large adult male moving quickly toward the second climber, who was accompanied by his dog. Defensive barking can be heard as the man manages to gain only a few seconds to use the pepper spray he was carrying. Meanwhile, Christos on the other side was affected by the spray's odor and began to react just before being fatally attacked by the bear. Immediately after being exposed to the pepper spray, the bear turned and moved toward Christos, who was standing at the edge of the cliff. The attack resulted in a fall of more than 800 meters. The friend, in panic, instinctively climbed a tree to protect himself. Holding his mobile phone, he contacted emergency services, fully aware that the area was extremely difficult to access. Hours later, a large-scale rescue operation was launched. Firefighters, rescue teams, and even a helicopter were deployed in an attempt to reach the location. The forest was so dense that rescuers had to continue on foot, making their way through trees and rocky terrain. When they finally located the body, Christos was motionless. The fall had been fatal, and he did not survive. Images of his final moments quickly spread and made headlines in several countries. Despite their experience, experts stated that the climbers did not respond in the most appropriate way, and that the bear's behavior was likely defensive, typical of situations in which the animal feels threatened or cornered. Today, Greece is home to between 400 and 500 brown bears, mostly found in mountainous regions, and encounters with humans have become more frequent. Environmental authorities emphasize that in areas where these animals are present, it is essential to follow safety measures, avoid approaching them, maintain a safe distance, refrain from provoking contact, and carry emergency equipment. Sometimes a single reaction can change everything in seconds. Maybe the moment was already too close or too fast, so what would you have done in that situation? The next disturbing video is from Nomadic Millennials, a van life channel documenting full-time travel across the United States. It is March 25th, 2019 in San Diego, United States.
So we were in our van like around 9 p.m. and we were just hanging out. Rachel was teaching some of her classes. We heard some loud noises, which we thought were fireworks because we've heard loud noises around this area before. There's a park area that we're next to.
John and Ray are parked near a public park during the evening. Activity nearby is not unusual for the area, and when loud bangs are heard, they first assume it is fireworks. The sounds are nearby but not immediately recognized as a threat. From inside the van, there is no clear line of sight to confirm what is happening.
I went outside and looked, and there's a bullet hole in freaking on the side of our van. And pretty much what happened is someone shot at our van while we were inside. I don't know if it was on purpose or an accident, or we were just in the crossfire.
The path of the bullet is analyzed. It entered through the side panel and passed through the interior, stopping after striking a reinforced section. The trajectory shows how little distance there was between the shot and where they were positioned. Inside a vehicle, there is minimal protection. Most surfaces are not built to stop impact.
We never felt not safe here up until yesterday, which is the weird part. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that make us believe both ways that it was an accident, and there's a lot of different factors that make us believe that it wasn't. For example, there was multiple shots being fired, noises that we've heard. So to us, it doesn't seem like it would just be like an accidental.
They reflect on how close it came. Positioning becomes the key factor. Small changes in angle or entry point could have completely changed the outcome. This moment is defined by proximity. There is no warning, no build-up, just a sudden shift from normal to dangerous. The van provides mobility but very little protection, and situations like this highlight a reality of van life. In public areas, you are exposed to everything happening around you, even when you are not part of it. Sometimes things happen with no clear reason and no time to react. So do you think this was just chance or something more deliberate? A man on the same trail moving in the same direction. Step by step, he matched her pace, never too close, never too far, until it no longer felt like coincidence. Lisa is a woman who regularly shares outdoor content, focusing on off-the-grid solo living, camping in the woods, hiking, and similar activities. Most of the time, she is completely alone with just a camera in her hand, exploring different forests. Her videos are actually very enjoyable to watch. She has a great presence and makes everything feel calm and natural. But in this particular video, something changed. It was a beautiful day, and she had planned a simple solo hike, just showing her subscribers how amazing the area is. But it ended up becoming much more uncomfortable than she expected.
Hey y'all, welcome to Lisa's Escapades. Today I'm out in a different area. I had to go north so it wasn't flooded. Wow, how beautiful is this place? You can ride bikes here. Maybe I'll come back with my bike. If I bring a bike out here, then I can go further. Let's go check this out.
It truly looked like a beautiful hike. The location was stunning, and it felt like nothing could possibly go wrong. But then she noticed something that immediately made her uneasy and sent her stress levels rising fast.
So I noticed when I came in the parking lot, there was a guy in his truck just sitting there, and he wasn't doing anything. Now all of a sudden I notice he's behind me. I just was going off this trail and saw him, and he went on another trail, but then I saw he stopped. So now I'm on this road, and he was behind me, just off this road. I thought it was kind of weird that he was just sitting there.
At first, it could have seemed like a coincidence. After all, maybe he was just there enjoying the area, and she happened to pass by him. But the moment she entered the woods, he started walking too, right behind a woman who was alone. She mentioned she had some form of protection with her just in case, and chose to continue the hike. But she kept glancing over her shoulder to make sure no one was following her, and the problem was, he was. At one point, she even stopped after hearing knocking sounds deeper in the woods, and considering everything that had already happened, it really makes you think it could have been that same guy, staying hidden while watching her.
So I just heard some banging noises coming from over here. I'll see if I can capture it on the camera.
She decided to begin heading back to her car, knowing she could be walking into a potentially dangerous situation, so she did not want to take any risks. But this is when she made direct visual contact with the man. She picked up her pace and eventually made it back to her car.
So, here's a guy with a white shirt.
At that point, the man turned back into the woods. That strongly suggests he was indeed following her. But for what reason, honestly, it remains unclear, and it is yet another reminder that being alone in the woods is not always as safe as it seems, and having some form of protection can be important. In this moment, his presence didn't feel random. The way he moved, the timing, the direction, it all suggested something more deliberate. Still, with daylight on her side, she managed to make it back to her car without harm. Sometimes nothing has happened yet, but something already feels off. And when that feeling shows up, the real question becomes simple. Do you trust it, or do you keep going? Krikos is a woman who lives for motorcycles, the open outdoors, and the excitement of exploring nature, camping and chasing freedom on two wheels. She aims to inspire people to step beyond their comfort zones, face new challenges, and follow their dreams. Her videos are genuinely enjoyable to watch, especially if you like forest environments. But in this particular video, something felt different. She was trying to camp deep in the forest, and she had a strong, uneasy feeling about the place from the very beginning. The video was uploaded on the Krikos Adventure channel on April 5th, 2026.
I'm looking for a place to stay. I'm just here deep into the forest and I'm gonna stay somewhere and sleep next to my motorcycle. And as you see, we don't have that much snow left. It's almost gone. The roads are clear.
After spending some time searching around, she eventually came across what seemed like the perfect place to camp and began setting everything up.
I'm pretty happy. I think we're gonna stay here. First of all, we're gonna go and collect some spruce branches because we're gonna lay on those ones because they're really wet on the ground. My survival instinct is kicking in so quickly when you're out here. Like every sound, I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
She had found her spot, but now it was time to gather a few materials to make the ground more comfortable to sleep on. So that is exactly what she did.
This is the bag where I will sleep tonight. It's a bivy cover for sleeping bag. And sleeping bag, this sleeping bag. The winter sleeping bag is okay. It's not as comfortable as this one with the feathers. I'm gonna let it get some air and then I'm gonna make the fire and then I can just jump in and feel it a little bit. What do you think?
The fire was finally going, and it was time to cook something, because after all that effort, the body needs energy. But while she was eating, something shifted. She started to feel uneasy, not in a clear or obvious way, but the kind of feeling that is hard to explain. Like something was wrong, like she was no longer alone, like something out there was watching her.
It's not weird. Weird sounds. I thought it was the wind first, but there's barely no wind here. Okay, here's the thing. I can feel it in my guts. There's something with this place that doesn't feel right, and there's something is off here. So I'm gonna pack all my stuff and I'm gonna go back.
There were far too many sounds around her camp, and it could have been an animal moving nearby, something else, or simply nothing at all. But that is something neither she nor anyone watching can know for sure. In situations like this, leaving early is often the safest choice. Experienced campers know that a sudden, uneasy feeling is not random. It is the body reacting to something that does not feel right. Staying aware of your surroundings and acting quickly can prevent a situation from escalating. Instead of waiting for clear danger, it is safer to step away while you still can. When something feels off, even without a clear reason, would you stay and risk it, or leave before it turns into something worse? A routine search inside a quiet forest park turned into something far more unsettling than anyone expected. Footage uploaded on May 9th, 2025 by the YouTube channel Johnny Paranormal has since left viewers questioning what's truly out there. In this particular video, the explorer Johnny was moving through a section of the forest that he had visited many times before. He walked slowly, scanning the ground and the surrounding trees, the way he always did when checking the park for anything unusual. While moving along the trail, he suddenly stopped. Something on the ground had caught his attention.
How do I touch this being respectful? I don't want to use my foot. That is a skull.
At first glance, it looked like a pale object partially hidden among the leaves. The explorer stepped a little closer, carefully pointing the camera toward it while trying to understand what he was seeing. For a brief moment, he hesitated, but then the realization set in. The object lying on the ground was a skull. The skull was small and worn, suggesting it had been in the forest for a long time. Moss and dirt surrounded it, blending it into the forest floor so well that it would have been easy for someone to walk right past without noticing. What made the discovery even more unsettling was that he had searched this exact area before. In fact, he had walked through this spot multiple times during previous explorations, yet somehow he never noticed the skull until that moment. That realization seemed to hit him hard. The explorer then looked around the immediate area, scanning the ground and nearby branches for anything else that might offer clues.
I basically found a body within 2 hours. That's a very old body. So not even body, it's just the head. Rest in peace.
During earlier searches, he had come across ropes or markings in the trees, signs that someone may have been in distress at some point. But in this case, there was nothing clearly linking the skull to a specific event. He paused to consider how long the remains may have been there. Based on the condition of the skull, it seemed likely the person had been in the forest for quite some time. He even suggested it might belong to a woman, though there was no way to be certain. For a channel known for exploring strange and eerie locations, this moment stood out for a different reason. There were no mysterious sounds, no paranormal encounters, just the quiet discovery of human remains in a place where someone's story had been completely forgotten. Sometimes the truth is not hidden by anything strange, just missed over time. So how many things like this are still out there waiting to be found? It started with one dog, then another, until suddenly he realized he was completely surrounded. Every step he took only made them close in tighter, turning it into a moment he would never forget. In a video shared on March 11th, 2026, the creator behind the YouTube channel Alexander Campbell documented one of his journeys through the mountains of northern Turkey as part of his goal to walk around the world. That day, Alexander was traveling from the city of Niksar, and as he climbed higher into the mountains, he encountered a mix of curious animals and isolated settlements. But as night began to fall, unusual sounds started echoing through the bushes around him.
Something in those bushes for sure. I've heard some weird noises. Like, maybe it's pigs. It's gotta be a pig. Can you hear him? I see him. Whoa. Whoa. Oh my god, there's like hundreds of them. That was crazy. There must have been like a good 20 or 30 of them. They all ran away, but I can still hear some of them rustling around.
At first, he wasn't certain what he was hearing, but soon a large group of wild boars suddenly rushed out from the forest. It was a shocking moment, but the real danger had not yet revealed itself. The following day, as Alexander continued moving through remote villages, he came across something locals in the area often warn travelers about: shepherd dogs. Some wagged their tails, while others simply observed him as he passed.
It looks empty. I take it back. We got 2 doggies coming. Very cute. Hey guys, how you doing? Oh, you're gorgeous, aren't you? Hello. Hello. Oh, there's even more of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But eventually, the situation shifted dramatically when he walked through another village. Without warning, several large dogs began approaching him aggressively. Within moments, more appeared from different directions until he was surrounded. The animals barked loudly and moved closer.
Buddy. 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 Help, 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 help. Help. Guys, help. Help. Help.
Forcing him to step back. For nearly 10 minutes, he was stuck in place. Every time he tried to move, the dogs charged again. Using his hiking pole, he attempted to keep them at a distance, but the animals bit at the pole and tried to pull it away from him.
Help! Help!
The situation became extremely tense as he called out for help, unsure if anyone nearby could hear him. Eventually, the shepherd responsible for the dogs arrived. The moment the shepherd appeared, the entire pack immediately backed off, retreating as if a switch had been flipped, and Alexander was finally safe.
Oh man, they just wouldn't leave me alone. And then finally the shepherd came. I was like calling out help. Oh man, it was horrible. I thought I was gone for. Eventually the shepherd came, and as soon as he arrived, they backed off immediately.
Looking back on the experience later, Alexander admitted that the encounter had shaken him deeply. Travelers in these mountains are usually warned about wolves and bears, but for him, the real danger came from animals most people would not think twice about. Sometimes the biggest threat is not what you expect, and it shows up when you are already alone, so would you have known what to do in that moment? The next video comes from the Haggard Project, a US-based outdoor channel focused on solo camping and survival-style trips in remote environments. It is February 19th, 2026, in a rural hillside location in the United States. He arrives during a severe winter storm. Wind and rain immediately affect the setup. The terrain is exposed, with no protection from the elements, and visibility is reduced. He attempts to set up a solar-powered night vision camera system, but the conditions interfere. Moisture, wind, and limited signal all impact reliability. With no mobile service and unstable equipment, awareness becomes restricted before the night even begins.
If that's on the inside or the outside, but that's a handprint. And the wind is picked up, so I'm gonna have to do emergency recon. Wind is getting really bad up here. As you can see, it's knocked over my stuff, so I'm gonna pack it in. I'm just gonna focus on driving out of here.
Conditions continue to worsen as strong gusts begin knocking over gear, forcing him to prioritize safety over monitoring. He pulls back from the hillside, leaving the camera system behind and effectively losing visibility of the area. At that point, he is no longer observing, only reacting. This situation is driven by a loss of control. The environment limits visibility, disrupts equipment, and reduces awareness step by step. The handprint stands out, but it is not followed or confirmed. Instead, it becomes part of a larger issue, being unable to fully monitor what is happening around you. And in conditions like this, where the weather overrides planning, that lack of visibility becomes the main risk. Sometimes the real problem is not what is out there, but what you can no longer see. So would you stay and risk it or leave before it gets worse? The video comes from A New Life in the Van, a UK-based van life channel documenting travel across Europe, focusing on practical experiences and day-to-day realities on the road. It is November 25th, 2024, in La Linea, near the border with Gibraltar, Spain. The couple finishes their stay at a marina campsite. They complete routine tasks, emptying waste, refilling water, and preparing the van before moving on. The setting is open and calm, with clear visibility, and a structured environment. However, attention shifts toward the upcoming border crossing.
See that guy that literally just came in front of our car? That happens very often. So don't get scammed by this kind of thing. He'll probably try and tell you that you can't go in. He'll try and give you try and tell you got to pay some money. But you don't have to pay these people anything. They're not official. Just drive straight past. Don't pull your windows down, nothing. Just keep going. We don't need to go through customs. We haven't got anything to declare. So what happens is you go through the Spanish aduana, which is the Spanish customs. You're going into the Gibraltar area. So you're going to show your passport twice. You'll cross through here, and you'll go into the Gibraltar customs area, which will take you out down there, straight down towards Casemates and the centre of Gibraltar.
Where unfamiliar processes introduce a different kind of uncertainty. They proceed through the crossing. The process is simple. Once inside the official area, there are passport checks, controlled entry, and visible structure. The contrast between unofficial interaction and formal procedure becomes clear. This moment is not about danger, it is about awareness. Nothing escalates and no harm occurs, but the attempt is there. And when traveling through unfamiliar areas, especially near borders, uncertainty can be used to create pressure. In this case, the outcome comes down to a simple decision, ignoring it and continuing forward. And sometimes, that is all it takes to avoid a situation entirely. We appreciate you for watching. If these unsettling encounters gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss the next drop. There is always another mystery waiting just around the corner. Sometimes the risk is not obvious, but it shows up in small moments like this. So would you recognize it or stop without realizing why? The video comes from Shane and Annie Adventures, an Irish van life channel documenting real road trips across Europe, including both routine travel and unexpected situations. It is April 2026 outside Seville, Spain. After struggling to reach the city, they settle for an overnight park-up outside Seville. They move from a more active area to a quieter, isolated car park beside an abandoned football field to get signal. While practical, the location trades visibility and safety for convenience. Once parked, there is little surrounding activity, no nearby vehicles, lighting, or movement.
Hello?
No.
Gracias.
Nada. So we are here. This park up is literally in the middle of nowhere. There was a motorbike down here at the very front, started flashing the lights at us. I don't know what he was doing, and then he pulled up beside us and he was like,
I thought he was saying damn it, which means give me.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, he wants money.
No, because he had his phone and he was like Uber Eats or something.
You should have said yes.
Oh well, this is what it saved us cooking. He was like, Dorian.
Maybe he's going to the French fan.
Yeah, I think so.
Later, at around 1 a.m., footsteps are heard outside. The sound is close and consistent, suggesting someone moving around the van rather than passing by. In a location with no visible activity, the presence becomes harder to explain. With limited visibility from inside, they rely entirely on sound.
Van was walking around the van, walking up and down. I did.
Because I just sleep anywhere. But now it's in my head. So let's go. This is like one of the first times we...
No, it is the first time.
Yeah, it is the first time that we have to move.
People say, like, when you have a gut feeling, just get up and leave because...
Turn right onto Calle Virgen de los Dolores.
The van and around the van, so I don't know what was going on. We're out in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody about, so I don't think he should be about at 1:30 in the morning.
Meters.
So we're going to go to the other park up, which is just around here, but we know there's like...
They decide to leave immediately. Still in pajamas, they start the van and drive to a more populated area. The decision is made early, before the situation can escalate or be clarified. This prioritizes control over information.
We've woken up here in our little park up outside Seville. That fella walking around our van, I don't know what he was doing, but at 1:30 nobody should be walking up and down and around your van, so we decided to move over here. We had a beautiful quiet night's sleep. It took us a while to get back to sleep, but it's time to get up, get an Uber, get into the city and see what Seville has to offer. We had to move back here this morning just to do a little bit of work because this is the only spot in this little town that has Wi-Fi. But last night we could hear somebody walking around here because this is like a gravel road and they were walking up and down the van, around the van. It just didn't feel safe.
The following morning, they reflect on the night. They never identify who was outside or why. Although they briefly return to the area for signal, they rule it out as an overnight location. Nothing really happens, but that's the point. There are no answers, just a strange situation and a quick decision to leave. In places like this, trusting your gut can matter more than knowing the truth. Sometimes not knowing is already a warning. So would you stay to figure it out or leave before it gets worse? The next chilling video comes from Desert Point Adventures, a US-based channel documenting off-grid camping and remote wilderness exploration. It is July 28, 2022, in Coconino National Forest, Arizona, United States. The couple sets up camp several miles off main roads. The location is intentionally secluded with no nearby camps, minimal traffic, and limited access routes. The terrain includes open land, scattered structures, and water tanks, but overall visibility is wide and unobstructed. Isolation here is deliberate.
To me, it sounded like somebody playing music from their phone.
Yeah, phone or like a personal speaker. We already had hiked down that road to do the geocache. No campsites, no people, and the road just dead end.
While hiking, music is heard in the distance. The sound stands out immediately. In open environments, audio can travel far, but without visible roads or people, the source becomes difficult to identify. The mismatch between what is heard and what is seen becomes the key factor.
And then not too long after, Doug was just outside and we heard music playing in the distance. There's no other campsites around us. We didn't see anybody come down our road. It was just strange. And then we kept hearing the music kind of getting closer, like it was walking to the side of us. So we moved. And now we're here, and it's really pretty. You would hear it, and then it would stop, and it was like to me, it sounded like somebody playing music from their phone.
Yeah, phone or like a personal speaker.
And it would play for like maybe 40 seconds, and then it would stop. And the next time it would play, it would sound like it was closer, and then it would stop again. We thought maybe somebody was singing really loud, like further away. But then when we started hearing it get closer,
they reassess the surroundings. There is no nearby movement, no lights, and no visible approach routes. The environment appears unchanged despite the repeated sound. This reinforces the inconsistency.
On relatively rough road. Obviously Jeep people, side-by-sides, they're going to be coming through the main road, but then we took a side forest road. It's probably for just the rancher, whoever is leasing that land, to get back to their livestock. So really, was absolutely no reason for someone to come from there. We already had hiked down that road to do the geocache. No campsites, no people, and the road just dead ends. There was no other road within a half mile of us. So it just doesn't make sense how someone was there, but right by our campsite.
if you get a weird feeling, you leave.
Listen to your gut.
Shout out to crime junkies. Be weird, be rude, stay alive. In a few hours, we have to head to Sedona. I have a engagement photo shoot there tonight. The couple's coming from Vegas, and this is the only day left that they can do the session.
Back on a relatively rough road, typical vehicle activity would be expected only on the main route. However, they had taken a side forest road, a dead-end path that leads to a tank, likely used by a rancher to access livestock. There is no reason for anyone to come from that direction. They had already explored that road earlier, finding no campsites, no people, and confirming that it ends completely. After checking their maps, there were no other roads within half a mile and no trails in the area. In a few hours, they planned to head to Sedona. The road ends in a dead end, and access is limited. Anyone nearby would have had to pass them or be visible at some point. The continued absence of a source keeps the situation unresolved. The sound is there, but its origin is not. Everything about this situation feels off. A clear sound with no visible source. Each part might make sense on its own, but together it doesn't quite add up, especially in an open place where you should be able to see what you hear. So if you heard something like that with no one around, would you stay and figure it out or leave before it gets closer? On October 31st, 2019, the YouTube channel Action Kid uploaded a video capturing a quiet nighttime walk through the Ramble in Central Park. The creator behind the channel is known for simply walking through different locations around the world and sharing real-life experiences with viewers. But this particular walk did not remain peaceful for long. Late at night, the creator, often referred to as AK, entered the park holding a flashlight, slowly moving along one of the narrow paths. Almost immediately, the park felt unusually silent. The only sounds came from his footsteps and the occasional rustling of leaves nearby. As he moved deeper into the ramble, the silence began to feel heavier. After a few moments, the beam of his flashlight landed on a small wooden shelter just off the path. Underneath it, someone was sitting quietly in the dark. The person didn't speak or move much when the light briefly passed over them, but the farther he walked, the more uneasy the atmosphere became. After a short distance, AK started to notice several people standing together in the darkness. It was a group of around 7 individuals gathered along the path. For a moment, he may have considered turning back, but that could easily draw attention. Instead, he chose what felt like the safest option: continue walking as if nothing was wrong and pass them without causing a scene. As he approached, one man from the group stepped forward and began walking toward him with clear intent. The tension in the moment rose instantly.
No, I'm not. I don't know where I am.
What? Can you turn it off?
Yeah, sure.
Fucking light you up.
Wow, this is scary. This is scary.
For a brief second, he hesitated, not wanting to escalate the situation, and decided to turn off his flashlight. Sometimes the safest move is not to react too quickly, but to stay calm and avoid attention. So in a moment like that, would you keep walking or turn back?
Turn the fucking light up. Okay, I'm scared now. Who would be wandering here? I'll just do the lowest setting.
That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.